Greetings, all who have clicked this message, and you are being welcomed into the knowledge of your root history, the knowledge of your root religion, as we all know, being what they are so-called calling us African Americans. We know that when it all boils down to it, we are still African. So we have to deal with our own history. We have to deal with our own religion as we're watching the very nation that we have built being we're watching our history being the little that has been preserved being torn out by even some of our own people. So we have to deal with this knowledge. Today we're dealing with the knowledge of Amun-ra or Amun-ra, and we're dealing with what we call the robbing and the stealing and the vandalism of the root African knowledge, or the original knowledge of the black man and woman of the earth, and the original knowledge truly of all religions. So we're going into Egypt. And if you look into the book, The Celestial Ship of the North by E. Valentia Straighton, it says originally the things that were mythical in Egypt were converted into history by the Hebrews. It says in the book, The Celestial Ship of the North, the Jews were a tribe of Egyptians who revolted from the established religion. Their Jehovah can be traced back to the Great Mother. It continues on to say the imagery, allegories, and divinities found in old Hebrew writings are Egyptian and appertain to the Typhonian cult or the Hekshus cult. It continues on in The Celestial Ship of the North, the book written by E. Valentia Straighton. It says the Jewish glyph and the Hebrew language are not original, but from the Egyptian and considered sacred. So why are we dealing with the Hebrew writings next to the Egyptian or the Kemetian writing? Because the Hebrew religions are primary with the religions that most Americans follow. Christianity, most of the Mormon and religions, these are based off of Hebrew origin. So we're going to have to deal with the true origin of the Hebrew, or the true Hebrews would be the Hekshus of the Typhonian cults of Ancient Knemet or Ancient Egypt. So the reason we're dealing with Amun-ra or Amun is because Amun is the primordial god of Khemet or Egypt. It says in a book entitled The Rootless Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses. It says in the book, Amun is the primordial god. Sometimes they dress the god like a pharaoh. And sometimes he was colored blue. Amun was colored blue. And Amun was considered the sky god. And if you follow the previous message, we were talking about the Yoruba, which even predates the Kemet religions, and the sky god is Olorun. It says that Amun seems to be connected with the word conceal, the god's nature as the hidden one, to be invisible or concealed. Also from an ancient Libyan word meaning water. Amun to be known as the aspect of the cosmos. So we're dealing with also astrology when we're dealing with Amun-ra, when we're dealing with the Orisha, when we're dealing with African mythology, we're dealing with the stars. And this is why they appertain Amun-ra to the cosmos. It says in the Rootless Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses. I recommend that book. And if you want to know more about the celestial origin of Ancient Knemet or Ancient Egypt, get the Celestial Ship of the North written by Dr. E. Valentia Straighton. We're dealing with the facts here, not the opinions. So we're talking about Amun-ra, the king of the gods. In the Rootless Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses, it reads, the name of the god is given the additional symbol of the solar disk, the Aten. So let's talk about the Aten. If you look into the Celestial Ship of the North by E. Valentia Straighton, the author says, the wars and struggles of the Hekshus. And remember, the Hekshus are the original name of the Hebrew. If you look into the Celestial Ship of the North, it says, written by E. Valentia Straighton, the Celestial Ship of the North, the book says, the children of the goddess mother of the great bear constellation, the Typhonians. The Hekshus were called the ancestors of the Israelites, the Jew, the Hebrew, or the Israelite, belong to the pre-monumental cult of Sut Typhoon, the ancient Shus-in-Hadr, the disk worshippers. Theologically have the same meaning as the Hekshus. The Hekshus and Jews were identical, and with the Shus-in-Hadrs were worshippers of the god Hadr, Horus, or Sut, Set, whether as the sun or the sun. So we're dealing with this. Like we said in the previous message, if you are saying what we are telling you is hate teaching because we're claiming and saying it to be true from your own authors. And we're talking about the European theologians and the European researchers. Bring your best scholars and we will have dialogue. We will have intelligent dialogue. We will bring our articles. We will bring our knowledge so that we can challenge you, because you are claiming that the Hebrew religion and the Hebrew language are original. That's not true. So we're going to have to deal with this. But we're talking about Amun, king of the gods. The title for Amun-ra, king of the gods, was in Coptic Khemet, Amun-ra, Nesu, Netheru. And it says in the Routledge Dictionary of Ancient Egyptian Gods and Goddesses. I recommend this book. In that book it says Herodotus and Plutarch rationalized that Amun-ra was the Olympian god Zeus. Okay? So these are authors that are scholars who have studied in the European system and also in the Commission or the Egyptian system. And these authors are putting in their books on how the Egyptian religions and the African religions are relative, almost exactly the same as the current Hebrew religions. We have to deal with this because there are some who believe, not all, but there are some who believe that what we are telling our people is incorrect. But we're not talking from our opinion, we're speaking from the fact. So you're going to have to look at what the fact is. What is the fact? What is the fact that we're dealing with when we're talking about the theft of the African religion or the demonization of the African religion? Well, let's look at the African religions. Let's look at Ancient Knemet, and let's look at Kadesh and Ramesses II, or Orontes Ramesses II. It says in the Routledge Dictionary of Egyptian Gods and Goddesses, on the battlefield of Kadesh, by the river Orontes, Ramesses II finds himself alone, surrounded by 2,500 enemy chariots. He proceeds to summon Amun-ra for abandoning his son. In this apparent hopeless situation, the god answers and rebukes by giving the pharaoh's hand and giving Ramses almost 10,000 chariots for his prayer. So we're dealing with some Kemetic mythology, some Commission mythology, or some Egyptian mythology with Ramesses, Orontes Ramesses II, and how he chanted on to Amun-ra to come help him as he was surrounded by 25,000 enemy chariots. This is our mythology. No matter the faces that they paint on their motion pictures when they hire their white actors to play our black gods. Then they say, oh, well, that's just because this actor got the role, or that's because the Egyptians were really white, and this is so not true. It is a global conspiracy to hide the true knowledge of Ancient Knemet or Ancient Egypt. It started with changing the name from Khemet to Egypt. The word Egypt is indicative to the word bondage or slavery. So when the colonials went into Egypt, so when the Arabs went into Egypt and they took the resources from Khemet and they took the resources from Sudan or Kush, and they go and they say that these places are the Arabs. Most of you believe that Egyptians are Arabs, but you're wrong. Egyptians are Africans. The Arabs that you see now are Arab Egyptians. After the colonialization from the Arabs onto the ancient Commission, the ancient Typhonian cult, which is the real Hebrews or the real original Jews. So we're not dealing with Jew. We're not dealing with Christianity. We're dealing with the African religions of the world. I said in the previous message, you remember in the movie Roots, where they took Kunta Kinte and they said, no, Kunta, your name is Toby. That was not Toby's name. And many of you have names that are not your names. Your name is not Ronald Jackson. Your name is not Bobby Jackson. But these are the names that were given to us by our slave masters and the sons of our slave masters and the daughters of our slave masters. So we have to start to understand that this conspiracy to cover up the African religions, and not only that, but to go in the motion pictures and to claim that the gods and the pharaohs of ancient Kemet were of European descent. we must come together and talk about this. So once again, we are not attacking. We are challenging any scholar who feels that what we are teaching to our people is incorrect. We are challenging anyone, any color, any creed, any religion, any form of history you want to bring in defense for what we are saying, bring it. And we will talk intelligently with you as long as you talk intelligently with us. We're trying to get our people back to the root of their knowledge. We don't have time for ignorance. All we have time for is the discussion of the hour. The discussion of the hour is why would the European philosophers hide the African roots of Egypt? Why would the European philosophers and those whites who support white supremacy make the Yoruba a demon religion in their eyes and change the name of voodoo to voodoo and make it evil all across the globe? Well, this is a message. Let it be a warning and a challenge to those who wish to say what we are teaching is incorrect.